extremely privileged to have the second panel discussion of Kashish 2015. Kashish as a platform for filmmaking. We need to broad base our discussions, which is like not just focusing on LGBT issues and law and people, but I think also talk about cinematic expression. How do we make movies? How do we kind of take them ahead?
In the past, India has always, it's always been the big budget mainstream films that have had co-productions. Recently, however, we've seen very encouragingly a whole wave of indie and smaller films that are managing to get co-production facilities, and that's obviously taking the films to a much bigger and better level because there's a cross-pollination of ideas, of technology, of skills. So usually what we've seen is that films get a much bigger base the moment a co-production happens. So I'll throw this open to whoever feels that they can start off by telling us, how do I, if I have a film or I have an idea and a script, how do I get a co-production or how does that process happen?
I'll talk about it from a student point of view. And international student co-productions, are not easy. You have to match calendars of schools from across the world. You have to figure out somebody who will fund the travel and stay of students both ways. And the most difficult thing is you have to get filmmakers from two different schools, film students from two different schools to like each other, which is harder than one might think. So what we've observed from student co-productions is it gives our students a glimpse into cultures all over the world. It gives those students a glimpse of cultures of India, of both social as well as filmmaking cultures. If a standard student production in India has 30 people on set, the same one in Canada will have 5, right? So just that one bit is already a win, where you're getting at least two cultures to understand each other. And what we've noticed is that producers and filmmakers from both sides then go on to continue to be in touch as filmmakers, thereby increasing the scope of co-production going forward.
First of all, India has a co-production treaty with approximately 10 to 11 countries, including the recent one that we've signed, which is a very good treaty with the Canadian government. We've created a platform over the last 8 years called the Film Bazaar. This is a platform that has brought into India international producers who have been associated with films like The Lunchbox, who have been associated with films like Jyotikut, and so many others. There are sales agents who come in. For independent cinema, who are not easily, say, approachable or accessible to distributors, we go through an ecosystem called the sales agent, who also send their representatives in India to watch various films. So therefore, there is a growing interest to get Indian talent. So in these various verticals are people who are identifying either screenplays which are at a final stage, or they're identifying a work in progress, and they're spreading the word out to either co-producers to come in and say, look, be associated with this.
Canada is certainly one of the countries with which India has a co-production treaty. As you said, I think 12 countries, was it, that India has. Canada has 54 such treaties. It's probably the country that has the most international co-production treaties in the world. I think in the last 10 years we've produced some 700 co-production films. The industry itself, of course, represents a huge boon to the Canadian economy, some $6 or $7 billion a year. When you're partnering, you're sharing your expertise, your diversity. Don't forget that we're not just producing products here, we're telling stories, and we're sharing ideas, and we're moving people.
A producer is a unique individual who not only talks about money, but talks about getting the film seen. So when you're looking for a co-production, find a producer who will release your film, who will get your film exhibited. That is more important than finding the money. Finding the money is easy. The bottleneck is not production, the bottleneck is distribution. From there, actually, let me step back a little, Ashish, and say that there are two countries in the world, India and the US, where the film industry satisfies the domestic market. And the domestic market finances the films. There is no government funding, other than NFDC, which is a small percentage, in the US or in India. Unlike the rest of the world, where Hollywood has pretty much taken over, domestic filmmaking needs government support. Would you agree with that, Mark? All countries in the US, which is why there are funds in Norway, in Sweden, in Portugal, in Germany, in France, because if they did not have government funding for films, there would be no film. industry. Even today, 80% of the box office from the UK crosses a pond and goes to Hollywood. 80%. So the point is, there is a history, there's a culture of co-productions in Europe, in South America. There is no culture of co-production in India because our film industry has habitually, for the last 100 years, 100 plus years, been able to find funding from audience. So this culture of co-production has come lately into India. We are at the cusp of it. This is the time to take advantage of it.
And actually now I'm going to sort of toughen it up because all this has been very optimistic and lovely to hear. But when it comes to LGBT films, that's the next step that I think that all of us are interested in. So Kapil, I'd like you to tell us about your experience, about how you managed to get Bollywood's first mainstream gay film on the screens even, and subsequently the amazing part that the sequel is an Indo-Norwegian co-production. So if you could just tell us a bit about that, please.
So hello everybody. We made a film called Don't Know Why Na Jaane Kyun. It had some of the respectable actors like Zeenat Aman, Kabir Bedi, Helen, Rituparna Sen Gupta. When the film was completed, we thought we'll get a good mainstream release for it. But most of the multiplexes, they refused to screen it because of the theme. They said the family audience goes to our theatre, we don't want this film in our theatre. So it was only PVR which supported us. So this film was sort of killed before it released. But then I think if your intentions are sincere, if one door is closed, somewhere or other, another door opens. We were like, okay, we are not getting support of theatres and all. So we started applying for festivals. And Kashish was our first festival. And after that, we went to, I think, nearly 20 countries. And out of that, we got 11 awards. And some of the festivals, like we were sponsored for our tickets, somewhere we had to pay, but we were like, we have to go everywhere. We cannot miss it. Maybe this can only lead us to somewhere. And coincidentally, when we had gone to Israel, over there at that festival, there was a Norwegian filmmakers, they had come over there. And when they saw this film, they liked it very much. And they were very much intrigued to do something with India, the issues in India. And we had a discussion with them, and the thing started rolling. Like they said, like, why don't we do another film which may have a similar issue, which may have an international take, which we can speak from the European point of view, what other issues are in India. And that's how Don't Know Why 2 Life is a Moment rolled.
The last film that we made, international student co-production, the one with Canada, the theme is actually LGBT based. The interesting bit is, and I don't know if it's a factor of the age of the students or what, but never once was there even an approach or a conversation, or the fact that this is an LGBT based theme didn't matter. It was normal. It was
A human story.
it was actually, I mean, I don't remember at any point of time, and we had 3 months of Skype script discussions and short breakdowns. At no stage did anyone say, "Oh, this is that type of film. Let's treat it differently," or "He's gay. Don't put him in manly colors." That discussion never happened.
I have 3 films, and 2 of those 3 films actually were produced by a youth-based entertainment portal called 101india.com, and they came to me and said that we want something which has LGBT content because we want now youth to be aware of issues, not just music and fashion and whatever. So there is a need, and there is a growing sort of, as this whole digital platform, this whole online viewing thing has created a lot of opportunities and options for us.
I think collective viewing is going away. Within a generation and a half to 2 generations, collective viewing is going to go away. Everybody will consume all their entertainment from their own devices, from their handheld devices, which is great for us short filmmakers, because 15 years ago I heard this word mobisode, which is a mobile episode. You're sitting at an airport and you have 10 minutes to while away, you pull out your phone and you watch a comedy skit, which is happening to all of us. We get stuff on WhatsApp that we watch. What's scary is that my own experience is if I get something on WhatsApp which is more than 3 minutes long, I don't open it. I don't have time for anything more than 3 minutes. But the good thing is that we are in flux, and this is probably the biggest paradigm shift we have seen since television came in. Because once we transitioned from films to television, it was a mind shift to try to create programming for television, which has matured to a point where I think television is also going to go away. But this mind shift now that is happening, this paradigm shift that is happening is consuming your own entertainment singly by yourself. My son will not watch his grandmother's 60-foot TV in a living room. He sits in his own room and watches stuff on his iPod or his iPad. And I see more and more of that, which is actually a good news for us.
Thank you so much for attending, and a big round of applause to our eminent panelists.